The relatively benign security environment that Australia has enjoyed over many decades in our region is behind us. We have entered, no doubt, a new era with new challenges for Australia and for our partners and friends and countries right across our region. This challenge will require more of us in Australia, and all of us who share a common vision about peace and stability and security in our region. So all nations can enjoy the fellowship of our region, the trade and the opportunities for our peoples, so they can realise what they want for their countries, just as we want for our country. That's what we seek. That's what Australians and our friends have always sought. Today I announce a new partnership, a new agreement that I describe as a forever partnership. A forever partnership for a new time between the oldest and most trusted of friends. A forever partnership that will enable Australia to protect our national security interests, to keep Australians safe, and to work with our partners across the region to achieve the stability and security of our region. This forever partnership that we have announced today is the single greatest initiative to achieve these goals since the ANZUS alliance itself. It is the single largest step we have been able to take to advance our defence capabilities in this country, not just at this point, but for the future. It has been some time in the making, it is true to say. These types of forever partnerships don't happen overnight. It has been the product of great patience, of great determination, of a deep relationship forged between our nations and, indeed, the personal level working relationships that we have been able to forge between leaders, between ministers, between our systems over an even longer period of time, led, of course, by the Chief of the Defence Force and the Secretary of Defence, Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, the many missions that have been involved in around the world, but particularly in these countries. It is a forever partnership that has been diligently pursued by my government to enhance cooperation, to deepen our integration, to position Australia in the best and strongest way possible, and to contribute to the stability and security of our region that will benefit all in our region, no exceptions. As our first major initiative, it is, as we have announced today, for Australia to achieve a nuclear-powered submarine fleet. Not a nuclear-armed, a nuclear-powered. And to commence that build here in Australia, in Adelaide, within the decade. Nuclear submarines have clear advantages. Greater endurance, they're faster, they have greater power, greater stealth, more carrying capacity. These make nuclear submarines the desired substantial capability enhancement that Australia has needed. It helps us to build regional resilience as part of this first initiative. It is the first time this technology has ever been made available to Australia. And indeed, one other country has only been given access to this technology back in the late 50s with the United Kingdom from the United States. This is a one-off, as the President in Washington has made very clear. This is a very special arrangement and a very important one for Australia. Australia was not in a position at the time we took the decision back in 2016 to build and operate a nuclear-powered submarine. That wasn't on the table. It wasn't on the table for a range of reasons. So the decision we have made to not continue with the attack-class submarine and to go down this path is not a change of mind, it's a change of need. The goal has remained the same. And Australians would expect me as Prime Minister to ensure that we have the best possible capability to keep them safe and to be unhindered in pursuing that as best as I possibly can. And that is what I've done. The developments that have occurred since 2016 do now make a nuclear-powered submarine fleet a feasible option for Australia, which is what I first tasked the Secretary of Defence to inquire into. We now have the support and expertise of the United States and the United Kingdom. Next generation nuclear-powered submarines will use reactors that do not need refuelling during the life of the boat. A civil nuclear power capability here in Australia is not required to pursue this new capability. These are game-changing differences in the technology and the opportunity that Australia has, but there have also been game-changing developments in the strategic circumstances of our region, which continue to accelerate at a pace even not envisaged as little as 5 years ago. Contractual gates were built into the attack class project necessarily. Those gates were there for a reason. Decisions have to be made before you proceed through those gates. And so, as we were looking towards that next gate, we have decided not to enter through it as part of the attack class program, but instead now to pursue this path, which gives us a far greater capability to meet the strategic needs. Stress again, this is about propulsion. This is not about acquiring nuclear weapons. Australia has no interest in that, no plans for it, no policy for it, no contemplation of it. It's not on our agenda. And we will continue to meet all of our obligations under the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, as our partners in this exercise will also do. To ensure exacting standards are met, a new multi-agency task force has been stood up to manage our pathway to a nuclear-powered maritime submarine capability. Over the next 18 months, the task force will work with our American and British partners to ensure the full suite of requirements that underpin nuclear stewardship, including waste, regulation, training facilities, basing, workforce and our force structure, are in place. We take the stewardship responsibilities of this nuclear capability very seriously. It is a forever responsibility for a forever partnership. And we don't come to this from a standing start here in Australia. Australia has a long history of safety and reliably operating nuclear reactors at AUKUS Heights, not too far from my own home in the Sutherland Shire. We have built a world-class nuclear safety and regulatory capability, and we possess decades of experience of safely operating and sustaining submarines in addition. Our acquisition of nuclear-powered submarine technology will, though, form part of a set of strategic deterrence capabilities. This is not the only thing we have to do. Our investment in defence will only increase in the future. The lift will only go up, it won't come back down. We will have to do more. We have invested more of the government. We have increased our defence spending as a share of our economy to over 2% ahead of time, and we will have to keep pressing forward. Not just to meet these significant commitments we're entering into to develop this nuclear submarine capability, but the many other capabilities that will be necessary to ensure we keep Australians safe and we have a stable and secure region for the future. Today I'm announcing, in addition to the acquisitions as announced as part of the 2024 structure plan, that we will be enhancing our long-range strike capability, including Tomahawk cruise missiles to be fielded on the Royal Australian Navy Hobart-class destroyers, and joint air-to-surface standoff missiles extended range for our Royal Australian Air Force capabilities. And the Secretary of Defence and Chief of Defence Force can speak further to those. These capabilities will be coupled with our planned life of type extension of Australia's Collins-class submarine fleet, which remains, I stress, one of the most capable conventional submarines in the world, and will enhance our ability to deter and respond to potential security challenges during the transition to a fleet of nuclear-powered submarines. As I've noted, we will not be continuing with the attack class submarine program and have advised Naval Group and of course the government of France and President Macron of that decision. I want to stress that France remains an incredibly important partner in the Pacific. There is few, if any, other country around the world which understands the importance of the Pacific and has been as committed to the Pacific as France. These are matters that President Macron and I have discussed on many occasions. We share a deep passion for our Pacific family and a deep commitment to them. And I look forward and I hope to see us continue once we move past what is obviously a very difficult and disappointing decision for France. I understand that, I respect it. But as a Prime Minister, I must make decisions that are Australia's national security interests. I know that France would do the same, and I know ultimately that will be understood, and we'll be able to continue to work together for our many shared goals and aims, because fundamentally we share the same values, we share the same vision.